You were standing in the grocery store with a loaf of bread in one hand and a little package of lunch meat in the other, and the price almost makes you put both of them back. Maybe you add cheese, pickles, chips, and something sweet to make lunch feel complete. By checkout, that simple sandwich meal costs what an old farm family once stretched across several meals. And here is the part that bothers me. A lot of older farm families did not eat plain because they were ignorant. They ate plain because they knew how to turn a pantry, a garden, yesterday's leftovers, and a loaf of bread into real food without letting the grocery store boss them around. My name is Caleb Schwartzentruber. I am 68 years old. My family comes from the old Amish and Mennonite communities of northern Ohio, and I grew up around kitchens where a sandwich was not just 2 slices of bread with store meat in the middle. A sandwich could be supper before milking, field lunch wrapped in wax paper, what a widow made when cash was thin, or what children carried when there was no money for bought food. My grandmother Ruth had a way of looking at a table that still shames me a little. I would look and say, "There is nothing to eat." She would look at the same table and see 3 sandwiches, a soup starter, and tomorrow's breakfast. Modern grocery stores trained us to think a sandwich begins at the deli counter. Old farm families knew a sandwich began with what you already paid for. So today I want to show you 25 old Amish, Mennonite, and Depression-era sandwiches that fed farm families before grocery bills exploded. Not fancy sandwiches, not restaurant sandwiches, the kind that made a loaf of bread, a cellar, a garden, and yesterday's supper work harder than a modern shopping cart. I am calling them forbidden only because the modern food aisle does not want you thinking this way anymore. There is no mystery law against them. There is no secret society hiding them. They were just pushed aside by convenience, branding, and the idea that every lunch needs expensive meat, plastic wrappers, and 5 things from the cold case. Some of these will sound familiar. Some of you may say, "Caleb, my mother made that every Friday." Good. That means it is not lost yet. If your family made a version I missed, put it in the comments. Half the best old knowledge in this country is still sitting in somebody's memory. Before we start, use common sense with food safety. Keep egg, meat, fish, and mayonnaise-type fillings cold. Do not leave them in a hot car or on a porch in July. If a leftover looks wrong, smells wrong, or sat out too long, throw it away. I want this to save you money, not make you sick. Number 25 is the tomato and salt sandwich. This one is so plain that modern people overlook it. But in farm country, it could beat anything from a drive-through if the tomato came warm from the garden. 2 slices of bread, a little butter or mayonnaise if you had it, thick slices of ripe tomato, salt, black pepper if you liked it. That is all, but with a real tomato it does not feel like all. The trick was timing. You did not make this with a hard winter tomato. You made it in July or August when the tomato was heavy, fragrant, and almost too ripe. Ruth would salt it for 1 minute so the juice soaked into the bread. That was the flavor. What replaced it? Out-of-season produce, packaged sandwich kits, and the idea that a meal is not complete unless it has meat. If sodium matters, go easy on the salt. If you use mayonnaise, keep it cold. And if you have never eaten one with a real garden tomato, do not judge it by the grocery store version in January. Number 24 is the cucumber vinegar sandwich. Thin cucumber slices, a splash of vinegar, a pinch of sugar if the family used it, salt, pepper, and bread with butter to keep the vinegar from making everything too soggy. I learned this from a Mennonite woman outside Baltic. Her mother kept sliced cucumbers in vinegar in the icebox so a hot, tired farmhand could have a cool sandwich before supper. The common mistake is slicing the cucumber too thick and drowning the bread. Thin slices work better. Butter the bread lightly, eat it fresh. This is not a sandwich you pack for 6 hours in the heat. It belongs to the porch, the kitchen table, or a quick noon meal when the garden is giving more than the family can keep up with. Number 23 is the onion and butter sandwich. Now some of you just smiled and some of you made a face. Raw onion on buttered bread was common in working homes because onions were cheap, stored well, and made plain bread taste alive. A retired farmer near Holmes County told me his father carried onion sandwiches during planting because they held up better than tomato and did not spoil as fast as egg or meat. His mother would slice the onion thin enough that you could almost see through it, then put it on buttered bread with salt. He said nobody called it a recipe. It was just what you made when the cellar still had onions, and the day did not stop for a proper dinner. This one is not for everybody. If raw onion bothers your stomach, skip it. But do not laugh too quickly. A family with onions in the cellar and bread on the table had lunch. Number 22 is the apple butter sandwich. Apple butter is apples cooked down slowly with spices until thick, dark, and spreadable. Amish and Mennonite families made it in big kettles because apples had to be preserved when the trees gave too much at once. On bread, apple butter became a cheap sweet sandwich. Sometimes it was plain, sometimes it had cottage cheese, sometimes peanut butter came later, but old families did not need peanut butter to understand the value of a fruit spread. Ruth kept jars in the cellar and could stop a child asking for store sweets with 2 slices of bread and 1 spoonful from a jar. If you buy apple butter today, read the label. Some jars are mostly sugar. If you make it yourself, can it safely using tested instructions. Do not guess with preserved food. Number 21 is cottage cheese and apple butter. This sounds odd if you did not grow up with it, but it turns a sweet sandwich into something more filling. Spread apple butter on 1 slice of bread. Add cottage cheese on the other. Put them together gently. You get sweet, tangy, creamy, and filling without deli meat. I saw this in old church kitchens. The women did not explain it like nutritionists. They just knew bread and sweetness alone did not hold a person long. Add dairy and the meal sat better. Use fresh cottage cheese. Keep it cold. Do not pack this one for a hot day unless you have a cooler, but at home, for a simple lunch. It is one of those combinations that makes more sense after the first bite. Number 20 is the egg and onion sandwich. Hard-boiled eggs were a great farm sandwich foundation because chickens turn scraps, bugs, and feed into food you could carry. Mash a boiled egg with a little chopped onion, salt, pepper, and just enough mayonnaise, salad dressing, butter, or cream to hold it together. Some families used mustard. Some used pickle juice. Some used mayonnaise at all. Just buttered bread and sliced egg. An Amish carpenter outside Millersburg once told me that when he was young, egg sandwiches were what you packed when there was no leftover meat and no cash for bought lunch. He said, if the hens were laying, you were not poor at noon. That line stayed with me because it explains the old household economy better than a chart ever could. Food safety matters here. Keep eggs cold after cooking. Do not leave egg salad sitting out. Be extra careful serving older adults, pregnant women, or anyone with a weaker immune system. Number 19 is the fried egg sandwich. Fry an egg in a little butter, bacon grease, or oil. Salt it. Put it between bread. If there is a slice of cheese, fine. If not, the egg is enough. Ruth sometimes broke the yolk, so it did not run down your wrist. She said a working sandwich should not make more laundry. I am not telling anybody to eat fried eggs every day. I am saying that old families knew how to make a filling meal from 1 egg and 2 slices of bread. Number 18 is the potato sandwich. Leftover boiled potatoes, sliced or mashed. Salt, pepper, butter, maybe onion, maybe mustard, maybe a little pickle. Put it on bread and you had a cheap filling lunch. To modern ears, bread and potato sounds like too much starch. For some people, especially diabetics, it may be wrong. But for farm families burning calories in fields, barns, gardens, and wash houses, this was fuel. A woman from an old Mennonite family told me her mother made potato sandwiches on Mondays because Sunday dinner leftovers had to become Monday's lunch. They did not call it meal planning. They called it not wasting food. Salt, pepper, onion, mustard, vinegar, or a little bacon dripping changed everything. Use potatoes that were cooled and stored safely. And if you need lower carb meals, treat this as history or an occasional frugal meal, not medical advice. Number 17 is the fried potato sandwich. Slice yesterday's potatoes and fry them until the edge is brown. Put them on buttered bread with salt, pepper, and maybe a little onion or ketchup. This shows how old households built flavor without buying 10 products. Browning was flavor. Salt was flavor. Onion was flavor. Fat carried flavor. Do not make the potatoes greasy enough to soak through the bread. You want crisp edges, not a dripping mess. And be careful around hot grease, especially if you are older, tired, or cooking with children nearby. Number 16 is the bean spread sandwich. Pinto beans, navy beans, lima beans, white beans, whatever the family had. Mash them enough to spread. Put them on bread. Add pickle, onion, or cabbage if you want bite. The modern world gave this fancy names later, but farm families already understood the principle. Beans fill people. An old extension bulletin I found years ago did not talk like a food blogger. It talked about economical protein, dry beans, and household budgets. The language was dry, but the message was plain. Beans helped families get through lean weeks. A bean sandwich was not glamorous, but glamour was never the point. Getting people fed without another trip to town was the point. If beans bother your stomach, start small. If you use canned beans, watch the sodium. If you make dry beans, cook them fully. But do not overlook this one just because it is humble. Number 15 is the baked bean sandwich. Some families ate baked beans on bread open-faced. Some made a true sandwich. Some added mustard or chopped onion. Some used brown bread if they had it. Modern grocery habits separate meals into categories. Old farm kitchens were not so fussy. Food that was paid for had to keep working until it was gone. Do not make this too wet. Thick beans work best. If the sauce is runny, drain a spoonful before putting it on bread. And again, keep leftovers refrigerated and reheat or use them within safe time. Number 14 is the fried cabbage sandwich. Cabbage was a poor family's friend because it stored well, grew well, and stretched meals without apology. Fry shredded cabbage with onion in a little fat until it softens and browns at the edges. Salt it well. Put it on bread, sometimes with mustard. I knew a widow who kept cabbage in a refrigerator almost all winter. She told me, if you have cabbage, potatoes, eggs, and bread, you can be hungry for something better, but you are not helpless. What replaced this? Bagged side dishes, frozen meals, and the belief that vegetables are only sides, not sandwich fillings. Cabbage can bother some stomachs. Cook it well if raw cabbage gives you trouble. And if you are using a lot of salt, adjust for your health needs. Number 13 is the sauerkraut sandwich. Put sauerkraut on bread with butter, mustard, leftover meat if there was any, or even fried potatoes, and you had a sharp, filling sandwich. The store would rather sell you a new condiment for every flavor. Old kitchens often got flavor from preservation itself. Sour, salty, sharp, and alive in the jar before anyone opened a branded bottle. If sodium matters, sauerkraut can be salty. Rinse it if needed. If you ferment at home, use tested methods and clean jars. Fermentation is useful, but it is not a place for sloppy guessing. Number 12 is the pickle and cheese sandwich. A slice of cheese, homemade or store-bought. Pickles from a jar. Bread with butter or mustard. The pickle gave acid and crunch. The cheese gave fat and protein. The bread carried it. A child could eat it, a man could carry it, and a woman could make it in 1 minute. The modern version became expensive because people started buying specialty cheeses, fancy pickle chips, and branded sauces. But the old version did not need performance. It needed balance. A little fat, a little acid, a little crunch, and enough bread to carry it. Keep cheese cold. Use clean utensils in pickle jars. And if you have high blood pressure, remember, pickles can carry a lot of salt. Number 11 is the peanut butter and pickle sandwich. This one has been around in more American homes than people admit. Peanut butter gives fat and protein. Pickles give acid and crunch. Together they do what expensive sauces try to do now: sweet, salty, sharp, and filling. This may not be specifically Amish in every household, but it belongs to the old American pantry tradition that overlapped with farm families everywhere. Peanut butter and pickles sat ready when there was no meat, no leftovers, and no time. Use dill pickles if you want sharpness. Bread and butter pickles if you want sweet. Do not make it too wet. Pat the pickles a little if needed. And of course, peanut allergies are serious. Do not serve this to children, guests, church groups, or grandchildren unless you know it is safe for them. Number 10 is the peanut butter and apple butter sandwich. Peanut butter on one slice, apple butter on the other. Put them together and you get something more interesting than jelly, especially if the apple butter has cinnamon or cloves. The lesson is not that every family used the same filling. It is that old households combined shelf-stable foods to make lunch without opening the refrigerator every time. That matters when storms come, money is tight, the power goes out, or you are too tired to cook. Use natural peanut butter if you prefer, but any kind your budget allows is fine. Do not let food snobbery ruin a frugal meal. Number 9 is the cottage cheese and chive sandwich. Cottage cheese mixed with chopped chives, green onion, salt, and pepper. Spread it on bread. Sometimes add lettuce if the garden had it. A church woman near Walnut Creek told me this was the kind of sandwich you made when the first green things came up and everyone was tired of winter food. Chives gave the kitchen a sign that the year was turning. That kind of seasonal eating did something a store cannot do. It made people notice what month they were living in. They can sell you herbs in plastic boxes, but they cannot sell you the feeling of stepping outside with scissors and cutting the first handful from the yard. Keep dairy cold. Wash garden herbs. If you are not sure a plant is chives, do not guess. And if you have pets, remember some onion family plants can be toxic to dogs and cats, so do not leave scraps where animals can get them. Number 8 is the ham scrap sandwich. Little pieces trimmed from a bone, bits too small for a dinner plate, chopped fine with mustard, pickle, onion, or a little dressing, then spread on bread. This is where modern households lose money. They throw away the awkward pieces because they do not look like a meal. Old households chopped them smaller and made them useful. That is the quiet skill behind many of these sandwiches, changing the shape of food until it can serve one more time. A retired butcher once told me, the knife decides whether something is a scrap or a sandwich. Be careful with cured meats. They can be salty. Keep them cold. Do not use meat that has sat too long or smells off. And if your health requires limiting processed meat, this may be an occasional old-style stretch meal, not a daily habit. Number 7 is the chicken picking sandwich. After a chicken dinner, old families pick the bones clean. Not in a stingy way, but in a respectful way. The little pieces became sandwiches with salt, pepper, celery if there was any, onion, pickle, or a spoonful of dressing. Modern grocery culture sells boneless, skinless, perfect pieces and trains people to forget the value near the bone. But farm families knew that the small bits often had the best flavor. My grandmother Ruth could pick a chicken so clean it looked like a lesson in stewardship. She did not do it because she was desperate every day. She did it because wasting good food felt wrong when somebody had raised it, cooked it, and thanked God for it. If you do this, cool cooked chicken promptly. Keep it refrigerated. Use it within a safe window. Do not leave it on the counter all afternoon while visiting. Plain food still needs safe handling. Number 6 is the cold meat loaf sandwich. A slice of yesterday's meatloaf between bread with ketchup, mustard, onion, pickle, or nothing at all. Firm, filling, and better cold than some meals are hot. The modern grocery system prefers single-use meals. Old kitchens made one cooking session pay rent twice. Keep leftover meatloaf cold. Slice only what you need. If you packed it for work, use a cooler. And if your recipe uses pork or poultry, make sure it was cooked properly the first time. Number 5 is the Leberwurst or Braunschweiger sandwich. Now we are getting into the sandwiches some modern people call strange. Older rural families ate organ meats and liver sausages because they were affordable, rich, and filling. Liverwurst on bread with mustard, onion, or pickle made a strong sandwich that did not need much. That does not mean every old food was perfect. Liver products can be high in vitamin A, fat, and sodium. Some people should limit them. Pregnant women and people with certain medical conditions should be careful and follow medical guidance. Number 4 is the bacon grease and lettuce sandwich. Some old families used bacon drippings as flavor because wasting fat was unthinkable. A little warm bacon grease could dress lettuce, wilt greens, or season bread. Add greens, salt, pepper, maybe vinegar, and it became a sandwich or open-faced lunch. If you use bacon drippings, use a small amount. Store them safely. Do not use old rancid grease. Be careful with heart health needs, sodium, and saturated fat. This is a historical frugal method, not a health miracle, but the principle matters. Old families did not throw away flavor and then buy it back in a bottle. Number 3 is the fried green tomato sandwich. When frost threatened the garden, green tomatoes had to be used. Old households did not let the weather take the last food of the season without a fight. Slice them, salt them, dredge them lightly if you want, fry them until tender with crisp edges, put them on bread with a little mayonnaise, mustard, or just butter. An old farmer near Millersburg told me his mother would not let the first frost steal food if she could help it. Green tomatoes became relish, pickles, fried slices, or sandwiches. Use firm green tomatoes from tomato plants, not random green fruits you cannot identify. Fry safely. Do not crowd hot oil. And if fried foods bother you, bake or pan toast with less fat. Number 2 is the church spread sandwich. This is not one single recipe. It is a category. Church women made spreads from what was available: chopped egg, ham bits, chicken pieces, cheese, pickles, celery, onion, beans, or leftovers mixed just enough to hold together. Then they spread it thin over many sandwiches for workdays, funerals, auctions, quilting days, and church suppers. A small bowl of filling could become a tray of sandwiches if the women chopped fine, seasoned well, and spread evenly. Nobody needed a giant pile of meat in the middle. We pile expensive filling in the center and call it value. Old church kitchens spread flavor thin and fed the room. That is why this one belongs near the top. It is not just a sandwich. It is a system for feeding more people with less panic. If you make any mixed bread today, keep it cold. Use clean utensils. Do not leave trays sitting out for hours. If serving older adults or a church group, be extra careful. Frugal should still be safe. And now number 1 is a leftover roast gravy sandwich. This was the king of making Sunday dinner work again. A little leftover roast, chopped or sliced thin, a spoonful of thick gravy, bread, maybe onion or a pickle on the side. They did not start with the question, "What do I feel like buying?" They started with, "What has God already put in this kitchen, and how do we use it well?" That question changes the whole feeling of a kitchen. It turns leftovers from a disappointment into a responsibility. It turns scraps into a test of imagination, and sometimes it turns a little roast and gravy into the best sandwich of the week. My grandmother Ruth would have called that stewardship. Not poverty, not shame, stewardship. And there is a difference. Poverty says, "This is all we have." Stewardship says, "This is what we have been trusted with, and we are going to use it well." Because the grocery bill is not just a number. It is standing at the checkout wondering how bread, eggs, meat, cheese, and a few vegetables became so expensive. It is opening the refrigerator and feeling defeated when the bones of 3 meals may be right in front of you. The old Amish and Mennonite farm kitchens were not perfect. They had hard days, bland meals, shortages, too much work, and not enough rest. They could see a sandwich inside a leftover potato, lunch inside a boiled egg, supper inside cabbage, sweetness inside apple butter, and a second meal hiding inside Sunday roast. Not because every old sandwich is healthier. Some are salty, fatty, or heavy. If you have diabetes, heart trouble, kidney issues, food allergies, or medical diet needs, use wisdom and follow medical guidance. Before you drive back to the store, look again. I am not saying you can solve every grocery bill with old sandwiches. Prices are real. Fixed incomes are real. Medical diets are real. But a household that can see food clearly wastes less, buys less panic food, and feels less helpless when the receipt gets ugly. Look at the eggs, cabbage, pickles, beans, yesterday's potatoes. the heel of the ham, the jar in the back of the pantry, and the garden tomato that needs eating today. And if your grandmother, your mother, your church kitchen, or your old farm family made a sandwich I did not mention, leave it in the comments. Tell us what it was called, what went in it, and who made it. And if grocery bills keep climbing, we may need to remember more of it than we thought. God bless the people who still know how to make lunch from what is already in the house.